podcast for empathy and imagination. This is the only podcast where we apply the concepts of empathy and imagination to the various topics and challenges of the day. I'd like to thank everyone for being here. My name is Aubrey Cloutier.
And I am Drew Clark.
And we have a special guest.
And my name is Reiner. Reiner.
Reiner,
Right.
welcome. Welcome to Gradient Studios.
Thank you.
Welcome to Crockett, California. Welcome to the podcast for empathy and imagination. Happy to have you here. You're our very first guest in the new studio here.
Yes.
We've had, yes, let's clap for that.
Let's get some applause.
Welcome. So we've had many guests, but since we've set this place all up, you're our maiden guest. So thanks for your braveness.
Yes.
Nobody told me.
Well, perfect. All right.
Did you have something you want to start check in with you, maybe?
Yeah, I'm going to check in. So
How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm feeling pretty good. The prospects I've been discussing in recent episodes about money and finding a job and creating value and all this stuff, there's this new swell of an idea that I'm working towards more steadily, and that is owning a pool route. So that I would basically take my hot tubbing skills and I would move that into a thing that I would own a small little route where I would maintain and clean hot tubs and pools by myself. Let go of the chain, just do it on my own. And that's feeling pretty cool.
That is cool.
My wedding's getting closer. It's like narrowing in. It's like a month and a half away. We got, all kinds of stuff. Thank you. All kinds of stuff to do with that. We've got freaking...
Sounds like a lot going on.
It's a lot going on,
That's good.
Was working today. We worked earlier today on some hot tubs. And then scrambled over here to get the podcast going. So my check-in is I'm feeling pretty good. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to have our guest, and it is really hot in here.
Yes.
So,
Another sweltering day.
Another
in
lovely
Crockett.
Crockett cooker. That's my check-in. How about you, Aubrey? How you doing?
I am doing very well. I'm glad to be doing this right now. Just been a busy week, working and playing music and living life. So I'm glad to be here with you guys doing this.
Hell yeah. I've been looking forward to it. All right. So,
how are you doing, Reiner?
yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Doing good?
Good.
Yeah, I got here in time. I was early.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, feeling good. Excited. It's my
Okay.
first podcast.
Okay, nice.
So let's see.
Did you get any meditation done?
Little meditation.
Little meditation.
Little coffee and
Okay.
plenty time.
Fantastic.
Do you have a procedure for your meditation, or is it sort of depend on where you are and what you're doing?
I have a procedure, but
Oh.
it can be fine-tuned.
Mm. Do you find yourself doing shorter periods or longer periods of meditation?
It depends.
It depends, like what you have time for?
And what is needed.
Oh.
So it's like I believe meditating is like rebooting your computer.
Hmm.
So if you got 5 minutes, you close your eyes, you put your feet flat on the floor, you focus on your breathing, and you get a new reboot.
Nice. A little defrag.
Defrag reboot, yeah.
Cool.
And then it makes it a little easier.
I like to meditate too. I usually find that it fits in for me best to do it in short spurts. Like I'll just find, here's the time for me to take for myself, close my eyes, put my feet flat on the ground perhaps, and just focus on my breathing. Just have what I'm breathing with my only thoughts, and when other thoughts creep in,
Do you use music as a aid or no music?
Not usually.
Yeah.
Usually just silence, just my own breath, just trying to have no thoughts
Just try
at
to
all.
quiet your mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Used to meditate a lot more.
Huh. It's
Right
a
on.
challenge to quiet one's mind.
They
It's
call
hard.
It's a practice.
Yeah.
Like even people who meditate for 25 or 30 years, some days not so good to meditate.
Hmm.
So then if it's not so good to meditate, then now is a good time to meditate.
Right.
Mm.
Because if you have that much stuff going on in your space, it's a good time to meditate.
Yeah.
Let it go and take a reboot.
You want to reboot and not have as many apps running.
Very
Right.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Just
Nice.
just the operating system.
That'd be good.
Just a clean desktop.
Reload Windows or whatever it is.
Huh. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I haven't done a lot of meditation, but sometimes writing can be a meditation.
Mm-hmm.
It's a form of meditation.
Yeah, because but it's sort of different because you're so in your head. But if you can do it right, your thoughts arise and they immediately come out. So there's no like
Chatter.
yeah, there's no chatter.
Yeah, your
It's
brain's on
just
chatter
like
mode.
stream of consciousness where it's just straight to the page.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
I sometimes I ride my bike, and that's like meditation. If it's like your breathing's going, you're pumping hard, the heart's working, can't really worry about other stuff.
You got a rhythm going.
Mm-hmm. Or
Yeah.
jogging too, like you're just doing your thing. It's cool. Yeah. So I have a question. How did you two meet?
You mean this lifetime, these bodies? or
This
the-
lifetime, these bodies.
I pass it on to my good friend over here.
Okay.
All right. What happened?
In Benicia, at a little place called the Relic Tavern, in the back smoking room.
Oh, nice.
Go back there. This gentleman's there reading, and I'm intrigued already.
You shouted, "What you reading for?"
What you reading for? And we just got to talking, and just talked about a lot of stuff, and it was really fun.
Right on.
And
Okay.
I invited him on the podcast, and he said, "Yeah, in 2 weeks." And I sort of didn't. I didn't know if he would follow up.
Here you are,
But I'm
proving true.
very glad that you did.
Here I am,
Yeah.
2 weeks later.
Yeah, right on schedule.
All right. So this podcast is called the Podcast for Empathy and Imagination. A question I like to ask is, what are you good at? Mm-hmm.
I think I'm very good at many things.
Okay. Like a Renaissance person?
A little bit like a Renaissance person. I was trained to be like a mechanical engineer, so I was very good with thought of mind.
Is that what you spend a lot of your time doing now, is engineering mechanicals? No.
But I have that back mind.
Okay. What do you...
I am wallpaper now.
Okay.
I'm a spiritual teacher and consultant.
Spiritual teacher and consultant.
Yeah,
That's cool.
very cool.
I'd like to hear more about that.
So I'm very good at that. And let's see what else. Yeah, I like to work. I'm very good at working. I'm a little bit of an artist.
Okay.
Some created artwork. I was painting in oils and things when I was little.
Okay.
So I think I'm very good at many things.
So you can do wallpaper, spiritual counseling, oil painting, and other worky things. All right. All right. So I've heard the term spiritual counselor before, and I've met some spiritual counselors, and I'm always curious to hear about like how they got started doing that, because you think about, like, I've done some relationship coaching,
Yeah.
and you're like, well, what gives me to be doing this for somebody else? And it just sort of, I think you might agree or disagree, it sort of arrived
Yeah.
that the need was there.
you can only teach what you know,
Yeah.
and everyone's voice is equally valid in that way. To expect to arrive and then, okay, now I'm ready to teach, I think doesn't work as well as just teaching and then kind of figuring it out as you go.
Yeah, little fake it till you make it, but
Sort of.
yeah. Okay. There's definitely I've already done some faking it till you make it, even with things like couples mediation. There's, because you never know everything going into it. But so, when did you first have the idea to be a spiritual counselor?
I think I was practicing it pretty much all my life.
You were already doing it. Okay, so this is just something you're doing all the time, anyways, right?
Kind of.
Okay.
So, but it gives a better format if there's an exchange and if the people are willing and ready to listen, and it makes it a little bit more disciplined.
Okay.
We can both walk down the street and I can tell you stuff about yourself, and you may say, this man needs a new jacket, and make it close in the back.
Huh.
So if you make an appointment and you get ready and you bring a notepad and a pencil, you may write some stuff down during
Yeah.
the
Okay. Do you ever find people are surprised by what you tell them?
Generally speaking, yes, they are surprised.
Oh, generally people are surprised. They're like, "Oh, I didn't know you knew that about me." Do you like the word psychic or clairvoyant to describe yourself?
I like all words, but the words I may choose and what you hear, what is the meaning of the words I choose is maybe very different than what I was actually saying.
I see. Okay.
So it's
Some fluidity in exchange.
a lot of people. It's like the work how to live a spiritual life.
Hmm.
So I'm from Germany, and I think they misspelled spiritual.
Hmm.
So if I would say a spiritual life, it should be spelled spirit ritual.
Hmm.
So you say spirit ritual, and then you say spiritual life. But the way how we would spell it out is a spirit ritual.
Huh.
Right.
And it's like some people. I tell people you could live a more spiritual life. They have no idea what I'm talking about. They Google
It
that
is.
and they say, "There's nothing under Brother Google telling me what is a spiritual life." For me, that's common sense.
Oh.
Yeah.
So now the exchange of words, what I'm saying and what you're hearing, and what does it mean? It's maybe four different aspects.
Hmm.
So that's why if you say clairvoyance, clairaudience, or transmedium, or intuitive, I believe we all are intuitive. I believe in our genes we are all intuitive. Before we use the word, we communicate differently.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
So now
Okay.
we're using languages, which is every time you learn a new trade or a new profession, they give you new words because the
Right.
common language is not good enough.
Right.
How about the common language would be good enough for us to communicate and everybody understands this is what it actually means?
all these
So you
specialties.
You think intuition was maybe the first language?
Maybe empathy.
Empathy.
Yeah, there we go.
My favorite.
Maybe that was.
Just a nonverbal communication between.
I mean, they
Neanderthals.
maybe made some sounds, but I don't think
Yeah.
they agreed or they needed to agree on a certain language. Like it's like body language and just, like
Yeah.
some people can feel the other person.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays people can feel each other and what they're saying. Now they get confused by the language and say, yeah, I felt you before. I was pretty right on. But
Yeah.
now I'm confused by what you're telling me.
It's true. I mean, especially when if you meet new people, you can determine pretty quickly whether you're going to get along. Most of the time.
Usually a
It's
few
like
seconds.
Within a few seconds.
Yeah. This
And
guy
also, like when it feels like someone's watching me. You can almost sense when someone's eyes are looking at you. So maybe maybe we were more sensitive in the past.
we
those
less
kind of
sensitive now
things.
that we use this
Maybe.
vocal pipe to push air through to make noises we try to recognize.
Yeah, and everyone's got different languages.
But see, you've heard me complain on this podcast about the limits of language, and yet I'm very grateful for its existence.
It's a big problem. The inadequacy of language is always going to be there. There's always going to be a hole in the system of language.
Like we're never gonna perfect language.
Right. There's always going to be something that cannot be articulated, but it can be felt.
Yeah, I feel so much I can't express. And I think we artists lean into other mediums, like you and I make several kinds of music together. And this expresses all kinds of different feelings and emotions, but not all of them. Even
Right.
that's
Right.
incomplete. What is
Even
Joyce?
By you expressing that, what maybe the audience is feeling, it's maybe not what you were trying to
Right.
express.
Not always, no.
That's true.
And sometimes you go for something serious and it ends up being funny. And you got to let go that it was funny and go, hey, I made a good joke. So
Yep.
I'm just going to keep smacking this.
That's
Is
okay.
that cool?
Just whack it in my face.
Wackadoodle.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I probably got a hex out of my car. I'm like a man.
Oh yeah, just
We were talking about shortening that. Oh, yeah.
tempting. That's tempting.
Constant improvements.
Yeah, so maybe we were in an empathic, intuitive environment when we were in the caves.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I mean, is this related that it's so magical that we've had communication with a primate, another primate, sign language, and that they've invented sentences and expressed their feelings, and they seem to be reasonable, rational feelings, like somebody's kitten dies or something like that, and then the feelings just rise up. So
You mean with chimps?
Yeah, or chimps and other primates. I'm not sure how many kinds of other primates have been taught sign language, but it's just that's happening is it's a good sign. It's
No,
a good sign.
no pun intended. Yeah, because I mean, animals, they get depressed when one of their clan dies, or if a chimp murders another chimp, the murderer chimp is cast out of the group.
It's true. You can be exiled and be a lonely chimp.
That's from whence we came. We were once. We still are. Part of our brains are still that level of consciousness.
Yeah, we have.
So our
we're
brains
not
is
that.
It's like the reptile brain and the primate brain over that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like layers.
And then there's like language.
Prefrontal cortex. So aren't we so fortunate, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It seems like it.
I mean, the world is a very complex, confusing place.
It's like we think and I think we need to explain this complex world to, like, for example, my dogs as pets. Like, they don't understand what's going on. If they were to walk in the street, they'd likely die.
Yeah.
Just from starvation, because they're just been sitting on couches their whole life.
And they probably think that you are like a baby thinks of an adult as having magical powers.
Mm-hmm.
You just conjure food out of the air and
Open a door.
Turn lights on and off.
It's just, I imagine it does seem magical from the outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe the dog also thinks you're their servant. They're like way high up on the food chain, and you're the one who got to go out there in the dangerous world because they're already.
They're just sitting there.
Yeah,
it's
true.
It's like, oh, look at the poor one. He's going shopping. It's good to be king.
That's true.
They're like, yeah, bring me my food.
Yeah, the dog barks and you let him out, right?
It's not a bad deal.
There was something a while back, an article that was saying that dogs are essentially parasitic, or at least symbiotic, like they've evolved along with humans for like 10,000, 20,000 years or something, and they've just sort of learned the triggers of humans, how to play the strings of the humans to get what they want.
It isn't untrue that they're also parasitic, and I can even acknowledge a weird present thing, and I can talk about it now because it's over, but I was just in a lawsuit over my dog.
Oh, it's over now.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, why don't you tell us about that?
Let's talk about that. Let's see what you think. You ready for? Yeah, heck yeah. So we're drinking some Racer 5 from Bear Republic and Sierra Nevada's Tropical IPA, just so listeners at home know, and I want to crack one open too. So, yeah, I recently got sued because I'll just say that I used to live in a shared space, and there was a shared backyard.
Mm-hmm.
A neighbor who I shared the backyard with was cat sitting. They were babysitting a cat, and they let the cat out into our shared backyard, and my dog bit the cat. There was one puncture wound in the paw, and they rushed the cat to the hospital and managed to rack up $5,000 in a vet bill. And there's a leash law in the backyard. You're supposed to have all your animals on the leash. And so my dog wasn't on the leash, but neither was the cat. So that sort of, seems to mitigate itself out of the way. But essentially, we were brought to Superior Court, and those of you who don't know what it is, that means it starts at $25,000 and goes up.
Right.
And so this is all over one paw, still, just one cat's paw. So we get to the court now. We've paid for the second most expensive lawyer in this county to defend us in this court, and everyone's like, I can't believe you're even doing this. What is even happening? That lady should just lose. What are you talking about? And she sued the person who owned the apartment complex, and they had a team of lawyers. And so they then added me, and so she didn't directly sue me. She also sued her old friend who was sitting the cat. So it became that me and the cat lady were on the same team in just this weird legal world.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure I can just say some of the numbers that actually happens. I'll just skip the names. This woman won $16,000 in a court of law. Just so let that sink in for a minute.
Welcome to America.
Yeah, right.
So I didn't have to pay all of it. I only had to pay a small percentage, like $2.5 grand or something like that.
Jesus,
And
dude. Still
it's like $2.5 grand for a
for a paw.
fucking paw. And the cat's fine. Cat is fine. And the dog versus cat dichotomy is as old as dirt.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going away. And we're not going to solve it with suing each other.
No.
At all.
Man.
So I had to pay a small amount, and the insurance company had to pay a much larger amount. But this person got away with $16,000. So it's like,
That's
in that
insane.
sense, there's so much more too. Like, it could happen here again. Like, I was like, well, why don't we start a business where we lease people's cats, and then what we do is we go into different backyards and just kind of drop them over, and with a
then
leash
just-
though,
and
because
then
they're on a
sue.
leash, and then sue.
Yeah.
And we combine and get all the money. That way, we'll have no moral standards at all. And
Capitalism at work.
capitalism at work. We'll just be very sad people taking advantage of other sad people.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not serious.
Just
Of
suing.
course, I think
for-
just suing
as
each
for a
other.
living.
Let's just talk. Let's go. Oh, hey, what can we do about your cat's paw? Or, hey, why the hell were you renting a cat and putting it loose in a backyard where dogs are? Hey,
Yeah.
what's up with that?
Oh.
So,
So how do you feel about it now that it's over?
oh man, I feel when I first got the verdict, it was like I was infuriated.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, on the one hand, I'm very lucky it didn't get worse because they were making noises like they were going to completely destroy my entire retirement, and I might have to pay more than that, and. So I'm supposed to feel, there's a pressure to feel grateful that I only had to pay like $5,000. But how I actually felt was that I'm even more pushed on the perimeter of our social system because it's like, this is justice. How much further from justice could we be? I mean, a used cat is like $50.
Right.
If the dog would have ended the cat's life, it would have been incredibly cheaper. And that's like, what a weird thing to wish for or think about or hope for.
Right.
Just because our system is so crazy. And I'm no stranger to I'm not quiet about my criticisms of democratic capitalism and our justice system and its needs for, a re-rendering.
That's
Maybe
true.
it needs to meditate. Maybe we could get our system to take a minute to close its eyes, put its feet flat on the ground, and reboot some of the system.
May I shortly interrupt?
Please do.
Okay. So the lady of justice is blindfolded.
Mm-hmm.
That should be a hint. Okay?
Yeah, why is she blindfolded?
Okay. So whoever is carrying the scale is blindfolded. Hint.
Mm-hmm.
Hint.
You need any more
Untrue.
She's not blind though, because
No.
if she was blind, she wouldn't have a blindfold. So
Right.
she can see, but she chooses to wear a
Chooses,
blindfold.
but I think that's supposed to say I'm not looking if you're this kind of person or that kind of
Right,
person, like different
exactly.
colors or whatever. I'm just justice.
But it works, both ways. Cuts both ways.
It does cut.
Yeah.
I think justice should have eyes. And I'm a fan of no longer using retributive justice. I instead would like to use restorative justice. And this is something sort of born out of nonviolent communication, where we can get down to what the pains are of the people and really, really dig into what the unmet needs are instead of saying, well, you're bad, so you have to pay. Or you're bad, so you go to prison and are punished further to become badder. Sure, there are some people we want to keep away from other people. I get there are extremes, but I doubt it's 2 million people in our country alone.
Is that how many that are in prison?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It's
a lot
more
of
than
that's
that
drug charges,
A lot of that is
which is
cannabis, my
bullshit.
favorite medicine. So silly.
Yeah.
We get on our high horse, and I get on my high horse, and I also have to...
Especially if you use cannabis,
Respect.
your horse might be high.
I also am grateful for what capitalism and the system has brought me. Like, I was born into a life that would be very different if it never had existed. So I have empathy and gratefulness for its existence. I think we're way past it now. It's time to move on.
To a different system.
Yeah. I think that's what's going on.
So I got a little bit of spiritual point of view on the justice system.
Go ahead.
So I believe if the consciousness of the people changes, the whole world will change. The justice system will change.
Mm.
The people we elect for president or running to become president will change. So instead of hindsight looking at what is occurring, if you raise the consciousness of people, the way how they meditate, and if they meditate, and if they're practicing spiritual rituals, everything will change.
Hmm. So it starts with the individual
Inside job. That's one of my favorite things.
inside job.
Inside job. So now if I meditate, I'm a god in the present, or it's a goddess in the present.
Mm.
It starts from the inside out.
Mm.
So now from the inside, like today I had an appointment. I believe everything is perfect. It is always perfect. If it should be different, it would be different.
Mm.
Yeah.
So now, since my mantra is everything is perfect, so now there was a delay, and I went, that's perfect. Now I have time to get a drink.
Perfect.
Right.
Perfect. And then I got another message. It's going to be even more delayed. I said, hallelujah, time to meditate. This is even better.
Yeah.
Nice.
So inside job.
Mm.
Inside
So
job.
now with my German mind, I can go, we had an appointment at this time, and I would be there on time, probably 10 minutes early, just to make sure I'll be on.
Mm.
I could lose all my hair.
Yeah. Just worrying about it.
Worrying about it, making myself crazy, making the people on the street crazy. It is always perfect.
There's plenty of people doing that.
It's like,
Yeah.
if the consciousness changes, the whole world will change, but it starts from the inside.
I like that.
Yeah.
That reminds me a little bit of the culture of cafe gratitude.
Yeah, because you can't.
Oh, very good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
We used to work.
We used to
there.
work there.
Me too.
Oh,
You
yeah?
worked at Cafe Gratitude?
Huh.
I worked for the boss outside in San Francisco. I did some tarot card readings
Huh.
on 24th
Oh.
Street or something.
Yeah, we worked for the boss.
Small world.
Good,
Yeah, we talk about Matthew and Terces Englehart.
Yes.
Yeah, interesting. So how about that?
Huh.
Small room, huh?
Yeah. Small
Just
room.
He worked there more than I
Big
did.
world.
The
Yeah.
cream always rises to the top. So if you're swimming with the cream, there are no surprises.
Mm.
You're
Great minds. I think I like.
you know that you're familiar then, or how familiar are you with like their like philosophies, and then the trouble they had like 10 years ago, 13 years ago? Are you familiar with that stuff?
A little bit.
Yes, you know that they were splitting tips evenly at the restaurants with Cafe Gratitude.
Oh, you want to go back to those lawsuits?
Yes, I want to go back.
So now I believe everything's always perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So now the owners of this place, they had a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were willing to share with the world. So now wherever the consciousness was from the people working with them, for them, that was the end result for the people who were involved with them. So Matthew for himself, he's a very spiritual person. He's here to make the world a better place, and not everybody's here to live in a better place. And that's perfect too. So
Hmm.
now by them expanding, having that many coffees, they thought they were doing a good thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people thought, oh, they're stealing my money.
Yeah.
Mm.
So truth is again, like the language. What I think is true, maybe not so true for you.
Yeah.
So, but on the conscious level, everybody got inside job. The world is a mirror. So these people were fine. They were willing to share. During and afterwards, they made it work for them.
Mm-hmm. So, is it accurate to say that your worldview about this is really one that is fully inviting to all circumstance, and that you can find the positivity, the voice for love and light in any circumstance? Is that kind of something you strive for and do?
You're talking about a saint or a holy person. I'm not there yet.
Hmm.
So what I'm practicing is, I believe if I recognize my spirit in a physical